this is Stephanie and welcome back to Story Concierge. I'm super excited that you are here. This week I'm talking about why you should stop trying to be a great writer and focus on your storytelling. But Stephanie, everybody tells me that I need to be a good writer. Everybody says that my words matter. Every single workshop that I go to tells me that every single word I put down means something. My critique group keeps telling me that my prose isn't pretty enough. I have a friend who just got an MFA and oh my God, she writes the most beautiful sentences. How can I compare? I grew up reading The Great Gatsby and Ernest Hemingway and all these other amazing writers, and I want to be like them. Okay, my friends, stop this. Stop this thinking, because what it's doing is it's holding you back, and you will spend 20 minutes or an hour going over and over and over one sentence that doesn't even help the story. And then what happens is when you need to change it, you don't want to. Seriously, this is a thing. Please understand, I am not saying that pretty prose isn't great. Sometimes it is amazing. All the Light We Cannot See has some of the most amazing prose I've ever read, but not at the expense of the story. Remember, to be a great writer is to be a great storyteller, not necessarily to be a great wordsmith. Look at it this way. If you were baking a cake, you would not focus on the flowers that sit on top of the cake, that sit on top of the icing, that maybe sit on top of the ganache or whatever else you have on top of that cake. You would first focus on the eggs and the flour and the water and building up the cake and whatever kind of flavor the cake is. Is it chocolate? Is it lemon? Is it a spice cake? Is it a carrot cake? Is it a cheesecake? What kind of cake is it? And you would build from there. And then you would put on the icing. And at the very, very end, after it's cooled and you know it's done, then you will put the extra things on top of it. Think of your words that way. People always ask me the one thing about writing that is not my favorite part, and it's the words, because I am a storyteller and so are you. That's why you are writing. I'm going to give you some tips on how you can stop trying to be a good writer, because that is what's destroying your story. Are you still getting rejections? It's probably because you're focusing too much on being a good writer. You want everything to sound good and you're not focusing enough on your storytelling. And it's really, really important that you understand why this will hurt you, because great writing is great storytelling. Now, if you have great prose that goes with it, that's amazing. But when you get stuck on that and you rewrite and you craft and you rewrite and rewrite and rewrite the same sentence, the same paragraph, and you want everything to sound perfect, you never move forward and then you never finish your story. So many writers I know get stuck on chapter 1 for months, if not years. And yes, chapter 1 is important. I talk about beginnings a lot. I've even talked about it in other videos. I talk about it all the time in my pitch series and on social media. Chapter 1 is important because it is your first impression. So do not get me wrong, it is important. But when you spend all this time focusing on the prose and not on the story in chapter 1, and then you turn in your book, there's many times when chapter 1 gets thrown out the window and you have to start somewhere else. So you've wasted so much time. Here are some tips to help you avoid this trap of being a good writer. The first one is write your story without editing. That means write from beginning to end without editing. If you don't write sequentially, some writers don't, that's fine. But what I mean is finish that first draft before you start editing your words, because that will destroy you and it will hurt your story. The other thing is I really want you to focus on the characters. Why are they in this story? What is their purpose? What are their goals? Who are they? Show us who they are. Focus in your head on that instead of giving them witty dialogue. Witty dialogue is the death of books. I am telling you, I can't even explain how awful it is to see witty dialogue that is there for no other reason than the writer thought it would be great to have witty dialogue. It's like in comedy screenplays or comedy TV shows when the writer's like, wouldn't it be funny if this happened? No, you can't have a wouldn't it be funny. It's the same thing in novels. It can't be, wouldn't it be cool if this, or wouldn't this dialogue be witty, or whatever. It has to be there to serve the story. Always remember, storytelling is first. The second tip is to focus on the characters. Focus on the characters and not the words that they're saying or the words you're using to describe them. Focus on who they are from the inside and get to the point the fastest. And the third tip is, when you are revising, still focus on the big story pictures. The words should be DFL. I don't want to curse in here, but you know what that means. Dead effing last. Words are last. I know that every English teacher in the world will condemn me for saying this, and I know that some MFA people might get upset. My MFA friends, they are amazing storytellers first, and then they craft these amazing, beautiful sentences after they get the story locked in. So I really want you, when you're revising, to not think about the words. Some people, when they write a first draft and then they go to revise and they go line by line and start changing the sentences. What? Don't do that. That's not where you're at yet. Revisions on the story in your first or second revision is about the story. Everything you're doing is telling this story. So you need to focus there. And then when the story is locked, and that means that you have your inciting incident and you have your new world and you have your middle, and everything is going up in arcs and up and down and moving forward. And every time you finish a chapter, it makes you want to turn the page because something happened that's, getting me excited to turn the page, and there's emotions and feelings, and every single thing is working, and you have a great ending that supports the beginning, and the beginning gives the promise of the story, and the middle is there, and everything is there. Then, and only then, if you want to, you can go back in and add beautiful prose. But here's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about. Every writer is different, and only you have your voice. I love The Great Gatsby. It's one of my favorite books. Am I ever going to write like F. Fitzgerald? Probably not. It's not my style. It's not who I am as a storyteller. When people try to write like writers they like, what they're doing is they're destroying their own voice. Every single writer has their own voice, and you have your own voice. And so I don't want you to get bogged down with trying to be a good writer. I want you to focus on the story instead of stressing out about these sentences. A lot of times, critique groups, especially newer critique groups, when you are submitting your work to them, because you have to have a critique group, sidebar, everybody needs a group, somebody they're sending their work to on a constant basis. When you turn over your pages, they might say, change this sentence or change that sentence, or I don't like the way this is constructed. That is not useful to you. Ignore that. Just let it go. Or even tell them. Like when I send out to critique groups, or even when I've sent out to beta readers, I always ask them, does it evoke any emotions? Does it make you feel any way? How does it make you feel? Do you care about the characters? Do you want to know more about the characters? Can you picture them? Is it a clear picture? Because I do not care what they think about the words. And I know it's weird for a writer to say, don't worry about the words, but I'm telling you to not worry about the words. Focus on the story. I know that writing is different than real life, but say you go to the mall or out shopping or to a concert anywhere, you're traveling and something happens. You meet somebody, there's a debacle or there's not a debacle, or maybe someone gave you some money or anything. Any story that you can think of that happens to you in real life. When you come home and tell your significant other or your family or your best friend or whatever that story, you are not even thinking about the words. It doesn't even occur to you to think about the words. You are just telling them what happened, and you are doing it in your voice. That is the way that you do things. That's how your writing should be. Now, of course, you have to focus a little bit more on grammar and making sure that sentences are constructed properly and everything, but not in the first couple of drafts. The first couple of drafts are really about discovering the story and making sure that everything in there is moving the story forward. I hope that this makes sense, and I hope you understand what I'm saying when I say don't focus on being a good writer, focus on story. This is sort of like the basis of my entire business, is helping writers focus on the story. So please drop a comment below. Let me know what your biggest struggle is. And if you are somebody who loves prose and that's something that you are doing, that's fine. But please let me help you get to the root of the story first before you put that beautiful prose on there. Okay? Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the free Facebook group for female writers. And please follow me on TikTok and Instagram Reels for writing tips every single day. Have a great one. Bye.